Hello everyone, I'm just going to do a quick rendezvous burn here in Project Gemini. So the plan here is to first catch up with Agena and then rendezvous and kind of do some formation plan. We'll see what happens when we get up there. But yeah, this is just a very quick answer to a few of the discussions and things that we've been doing on ground. So let's see what happens. So first of all, let me just ensure that everything is set up correctly. So I'm currently now in orbit around Earth, and we are just behind Agena. So we are slowly catching up with Agena, and then at the right time, we're going to perform a burn that will match our apogee with Agena's and basically make us rendezvous with it. Yeah, let's go ahead and get that all set up. But if there's anyone watching here, please let me know if you can hear me okay in terms of audio, and then we'll go from there. The initial thing here is that we're just going to perform kind of a minor little video here. So, but I'll let you respond. Okay, sound is okay. I hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much. Awesome to have you folks here with me for this little ad hoc stream. I hope that it will answer a couple of questions I had in a separate discussion. So for everyone new, the aim here is that I'm going to perform a quick rendezvous burn, and then we're going to catch up and rendezvous with Agena. So the first thing that we need to do to perform this maneuver is to ensure that our computer is in catch-up mode. So catch-up is the computer responsible for performing various burns. And secondly, we need to make sure that the tape light isn't green. If this is green, it means that the computer module is still loading its software and putting it onto the computer. And during loading, it's not possible to use the computer. So, all right, let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is to request the burn. So now I'm going to open up the mission tools. You can use the rendezvous button here. This is a shortcut, but we're going to use the mission tools. And then we can do request burns. And the burn that we want to request is the rendezvous burn. So let's go ahead and click that. And that will calculate the burn. And then ground is going to uplink the burn parameters through a DCS message. This is basically an uplink from ground to the computer. And obviously, since we have the chat here and this is a live session, if you have any questions or is curious about anything, please ask me questions. I'll try to answer everything I can. So yeah, we have the DCS message. This signals that we have received an uplink. So I'm just going to press this button to acknowledge that. And then we can go ahead and open up the pad. So mission tools and then data forms, and we can open up the catch-up maneuver pad. And we can auto plot this. If you're new to re-entry, you can use the pen here and you can draw in the pad numbers here if you want, or you can use these stamps to do stuff. So you can basically plot this thing into this form, and this is something that you'll use quite a lot in Project Apollo. I also have a paper form that I received and a form on the tablet, so you can do these externally using pen and paper if you want. But the important thing here is that now we have copied our parameters over to the pad. So let's verify that the uplink that we received actually matches with the pad. So now we are going to first follow the sequence here. So we're going to check these three values. The first one is core number 1. So on the computer, hit clear 01 readout. So that's 4 hours 26 minutes. So we need to match that 01 is 00426, 0100426, and that's all good. So then I can hit clear. Let's verify the next data point, and that's quarter number 2, readout 135. So that's 1.35 seconds. Everything is good. And then the amount of the burn, so that's 68.2. So let's verify core number 25 here. 25 readout, so 68.1, and this is just a rounding thing so that everything is in order. And then I'll hit clear, and we are ready for the burn. So then we can hit start on the computer, and you can see the burn direction has now been inserted and is visible on the IBI. This is the calculation output. So this one is now currently showing me the burn direction relative to the spacecraft. So if you maneuver the spacecraft, you can see that these values are actually changing based on its relative offset from you. So if you would like, you can rotate and maneuver the craft to bring all of these data points into one axis, and you can burn very easily by just zeroing that IBI. So first of all, let me switch over to rate command, and this allows me to have much better attitude control. 01, 02, 25, 26, 27. Hello everyone. If you're on the chat, hello. Great to have you folks on board with me today in this little stream about rendezvousing in Gemini. So now I've requested the burn, everything is calculated. So all that's kind of remaining now is for the countdown to reach 0. So I can use core 84 and then read out. And you can see that there's now 44 minutes and 35 seconds left. So if you spam the computer, you can see that it's counting down. At this point, it might be a good idea to either mark exactly where it is on this clock or use the event timer here. So what I'm going to do is just quickly use this tool here to perform the countdown. And then this will signal that, okay, hey, you should start burning now. So I'm going to show you kind of how that works. So with everything counting down, we also know that the timestamp of the burn is 4:26. So let's time scale a little bit closer. And let's go up to 4:20. And then we can just verify a couple of things before we perform the actual burn itself. So 4:20-ish. So now let's see where we are. So we are now currently very close to Agena. So we should now be preparing for the ignition pretty soon. So let's jump back into the cockpit and let's cross-check. 6 minutes and 12 seconds and counting. So everything seems to be in order. So now we are going to continue time scaling to 4:26. It's important to not time scale past the burn point. Okay. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you can see the light. Then we can start burning. Now you need to zero this one down. And you can see that I have a burn direction aft. So now I can zero this by translating aftwards. And then I can zero this one by translating downwards. So just follow these arrows and zero out the delta V. So my orientation is kind of arbitrary. So you can zero these IBIs and then you'll burn the entire burn in that correct vector. So now I can continue and everything should now be 0. And after a burn, always hit reset on the computer, and I'm going to erase the catch-up maneuver pad here. You can undo if you want. Use the scroll wheel to select the tools that you would like. You can also have an eraser that you can use to erase the things that is not important on the pad. Yes, I'm just showing off how the IVIs actually work. So if you're not exactly prograde, it means that you can still perform the burn. You can perform the burn in any direction. But it's always good to do as you say, Alex. Always point to prograde. It makes everything simpler. Just trying to highlight that it's not needed. And the same applies for the Luna module. You can do. You're going to perform a similar burn in the Luna module as well. So the next thing is to go up to the map view, and then we can perform a mid-course correction burn. So at this point, I am actually going to go to prograde. And the mid-course correction burn is something that you can do. I'm going to switch to direct and just let it drift. We're getting close, and this shows me my rate. So now I can just zero these error needles, and the rates should be all done. Then you can switch to rate command to help us stop the rest. So another thing that you can do is to always turn on the attitude indicator light, if that makes it easier. The thing that I was going to show you is the delta apogee. So this is basically the distance, the estimated distance between the craft, your craft, and Agena, the target vehicle that we're going to rendezvous with, at perigee. So right now, if we perform the rendezvous, and then we're going to arrive 2.4 miles away from the Agena. So at this point, we can use translation control to perform a quick mid-course correction burn. And now I'm just going to kind of pull the spacecraft, burn a little bit forward, and then you can kind of tune this number. You're basically performing very minor thrusts. So if I now look outside, you can see that I'm performing very minor thrusts to correct this one. And you want it below 1 nautical miles. So this is a good value. If you want, you can keep pushing this. I'm just pushing prograde right now and retrograde to maneuver the other way. So just try it out and see kind of how it works. After you doing that mid-course correction burn a few times, that will start to become much more simpler. But it's just a basic little tool that you can use to perform these mid-course correction burns. So with that done, we can hit clear. The next thing that we'll need to do is to ensure that we have radar contact. So let's turn the radar on, and let's turn on the encoder, because at this point I would like to turn on the lights, the red kind of beacon flashing light on Agena, which makes it a bit easier to see in the night sky, or in the star, among the stars. Instead of looking for a star that slowly moves, you can look for a flashing red strobe. So let's send that command. And now we can use timescale to get a little bit closer. So you can see that after this burn, we are going to have a rendezvous point just over Africa here. This is where those two paths basically meets. Like that. So now we are going to perform a little bit of time scale. I'm just going to do a couple of minutes to get us into the day side here. And the other thing that we'll need to do now is that if you take a look at our orbit, we are now at 160.7, and Agena is having at this orbit. So we can now, we have to match our perigee as well, or else we're going to start to fall away from it, and then we're going to lose our target, because that's how orbital mechanics works. So at this point, we are going to then plan a new circularization burn at Apogee. So to do that, hit circulation AP. This button will do that, or you can go into the mission tools, request burn, and then AP circularization burn. Click that, and let's also open up the pad again. And auto plot, and we see that our burn is at 5 hours 12 minutes and 10 seconds, and the delta V is 68.2, so this is very similar to our previous burn. So we've received the package. Let's acknowledge that, and then go to the computer, and then we'll verify the parameters. So 01 readout, 512 02 1000 25 68.1. This is still a rounding thing, so that's all good. We're in a good position for a burn, and you can see the estimated result of this circularization burn will insert us into 160.7 nautical miles of an altitude. That's fully circular orbit. So yeah, I closed the pad a little bit quickly there. It's always good to have the pad there, and if it's annoying, you can just make it a little bit smaller. So while we are now doing this, let's go through a couple of questions. So I have a question: have you ever considered adding actual voice actors for re-entry? Yes, I have. There are. It's fully possible to do it. I've made support for it, but this is a niche project, and it's quite limited in terms of budgeting and everything like that. So voice actors is I've been trying to calculate, and it's going to be quite expensive. Even translation is, I think, on average $0.06 per word. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I make that happen? Because re-entry comes with 50 academy lessons. It comes with, I think, 20 or 30 campaign missions, and then it comes with the Mercury Redstone 3, 4, Mercury Atlas 6, Gemini Titan 3, and Apollo 13 historic missions, and the Apollo 13 is 23 missions, I think. So it's the math is the outcome of that math is that everything related to text and translation and acting is extremely it's an insane amount of work. It's just a lot to do. But it's fully supported in the game. All the historic missions has been me cutting audio. So yeah. Congrats, Robert. That's awesome. Keep it up. Keep it up. There's a lot of things to learn in Gemini. But anyways, yeah, we let's make sure that we're not going to miss our burn. So right now we can use 84 to count down towards burn. So I'm going to hit start, and I would also like to switch my radar over to radar, or my attitude indicator's source on the needles to be radar, and then attitude. This will now point me towards what the radar has a lock on to, which means that if I now center these needles, and let's go to direct, because then I can just drift. If I close these arrow needles now, I should be looking directly at Agena. So rate command, center, precision, and there we have. It's right in front of me, that red blinking light I was talking about. The radar tells me it's 30,000 feet away, and we're closing in quite fast. And let's open up another tool here, which is the Rendezvous plot. And it's going to show us our relative position with Agena. So now we are slightly ahead of it and below it relative to Agena. And the down arrow here is pointing towards Earth centrum. So this is the gravity relative to Agena, and the forward arrow is in the direction of its velocity, so kind of the orbital flight. Yeah, thanks everyone, and greetings to Germany and everyone else on the chat. It's great to have you folks with me, even in this ad hoc quick stream. It means a lot. Yeah, the controller single role, that's the mission control modules. If I could make a single player game out of that, is that what you mean? And let me just continue with this, and we'll continue with a couple of questions after my session here. So now let's keep that plot up as well, just to kind of so you see how that works. So now let's go ahead and hit readout on 84. We are now 9 minutes and 23 seconds away from ignition. Normally it's good to use the event timer. You can make it count down towards those 10 minutes if you want. It makes it much easier to keep track of time and when to do the ignition. You can also use the timer here, and there's another one here with different markings that you can use as a chronograph. So there's a lot of timing options, or you can keep spamming the onboard computer and it's going to refresh its display every time you hit read out here. And then we have the most important timestamp, which is on the pad here. So 5 hours, 12 minutes intermission and 10 seconds. So we are getting close. So let us timescale, and you can see the craft is now getting closer and closer to Agena. So 5:12. Let's timescale to about 11 or 10. There we go. And now we're getting closer. So now I can close this. We don't need that anymore. That's my relative position. But what we can look at now is the radar. So you can see that the Agena is about 3,000 feet away, and it's closing in very fast. So let's go and check our timing. 5:11:30. We're about 40 seconds left, and just cross check. It's always good to cross check burn timings and be very careful with time scaling. There's quite a lot of things going on. And if you want to make sure that you don't bypass or pass that timestamp using timescale, just be very careful about timescaling at this point. It's only 15, 13, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We're waiting for this light. 3, 2, 1, and burn. Now we're at this arbitrary thing, and I just want to kind of show that it works. So now I'm just going to go in the afterburn. You can see the needles here. Agena is getting closer and closer, very fast, but I'm reducing my approach rate, continuing my burn. And now we're drifting away from it. So this is basically how this radar works. So this is the distance left, and this is your approach rate. So if I now burn over it, you can see that I'm moving this one. So now I'm just drifting closer towards Agena. And you can see this needle is going down. Another approach is now to use the Rendezvous computer. But I'm going to do a visual approach. I usually like these. Adds a little bit of a manual thing to it. So you can see Agena is now standing above me, and I can close in manually now. So let's take a look at it. I can close the catch maneuver, and we can turn off that blinking light. So then you can go over to an encoder, and the turn off light is 250. There it's off. I've sent the command. Now I'm just kind of translating towards Agena. And you can see the docking probe port on the back there. So let's close this final little distance. And there we have it. Let's get in position. Then I'm going to stop my rate relative to it. And doing this in rate command makes a lot of sense. It's much easier to have control of your craft. And it's always good to use as little fuel as you can. You can monitor your fuel here. So I used about 20%, 30% of my fuel at this point. So now I can reset the computer, and at this point I can turn on the docking port light just to show you that. So 140 on, please. Okay, there's off. And there's on. So it was already on. But we're in the daylight, so it's a little bit hard to see. So now it's all about getting in position relative to Agena. And another thing that you can do if you want is to extend the index arm. So it brings up this little targeting device. Another tip, especially if you're doing these for the first times, is to use the aids here, the helper function, and it will allow you to kind of use this visual targeting mechanism. Performing docking in Gemini is a little bit harder in many cases than Apollo for many, because Apollo has that target on the lunar module that you can use. And you can even toggle one in the command module window if you want to dock with the command module from the lunar module perspective, depending on kind of what is the active craft. So now I'm gonna reduce my velocity, my closing speed. And stop the rates. And now if we take a look at the external view, you can see your attitude and your position relative to the craft. But getting the attitude, relative attitude, is kind of hard. So if you want, you can use the Rendezvous program here. It takes 10 minutes to load, and then you can zero out the errors and the IVIs here to kind of close the gap. So it makes it a little bit easier for those who want to do that. Slightly off. Oops. There we go. Yeah. Was slightly off, but it corrects it if you're very close. Or else you might clip through it. And the reason for that is that I'm working on this collision logic. I think I finally figured out how to perform this collision. So yeah, I'm going to try and give it an attempt. But the cool thing now is that if you're docked, you can maneuver and you can use the thrusters, and you can even turn on the engines of that Agena to alter your orbit. So yeah, let's go and take a look at a couple of questions here. I don't have any plans for Energia Brutal. I don't know anything about the licensing related to it and so on, but we're trying to figure out as a first step the licensing for Vostok. Yeah, so in terms of mission control, not online. There's no plans there, but I've been playing around with the idea. It's it's been a feature that has been requested. So the initial plan is now to, right now, my main aspect of mission control and multiplayer is to get the core logic working. So the networking, layering, and the frameworks, and get familiar with kind of how all of that works. But once I get that done, then let's get the multiplayer modes out and make sure that the rooms are ready, the 3D models are updated, and I know exactly how I want to render things. Then I could create an offline mode. I did a similar activity for the during the work for the Apollo 13 documentary, where I was just playing around with these things to play around with some ideas, and I was playing a stream of data to the console, and the goal of that mini game that I made, this was a personal thing, was to be able to react on data. But the problem is that if you want to simulate the craft and you would monitor it on mission control, then suddenly your system will get very overloaded. There's a lot of things. So figuring out how to make it solo but also interactable and working as a fun game, that's the big challenge. You can react to data, you can see data to kind of train your eye. That's fully possible. But if you would then interact with it somehow or change the attitude, then suddenly that data would be not relevant anymore. Thank you, everyone, for your congratulations. This past couple of days has been quite intense with 1.0 and everything going on with that. You can probably see my eyes are a little bit tired looking, but yeah, keep pushing. Orbiter is an amazing game. FSX Landings. I do play it. I still play it. I recently installed Orbiter 2024 to test it out with the latest versions of NASP, which is an amazing Apollo simulator if anyone wants to kind of take the next step in Apollo. A lot of players, they like to learn Apollo in re-entry and then try out NASP and take the next step into that simulation. But re-entry is a good training tool to get there. Yes, the amount of times I accidentally pass my burns, that's quite a lot. Comp, what's the difference when approaching for docking? What is the difference for the FDI between radar and comp if we're running Rendezvous? So the radar would still show you your direction towards the source of the radar, so basically the errors. But comp will then show you your angular offset. So if you zero the comp angles on the errors, then you should have the exact same rotation. So the problem is that if this is Agena and it kind of looks like this, and then you're coming up in front, and now I'm going to tilt the camera here, there might be some offsets between your angle here, which is very hard to see using your visual approach or the index arm, especially the way that I've set things up in re-entry. So then using that angler to kind of zero out everything so you know that you're perfect, and then everything else is just about translating the final few feet to perform the docking. I hope that answers your questions if I understood it correctly. Yeah, the mission tools button is missing in VR. That's correct. I'm still working on the VR. So VR is um, preliminary implementation. So it was a post 1.0 feature, but now that we're past that milestone, I still need to tweak a few more things to be able to get fully into that VR mode. Get things ready. VR implementation and VR support is extremely hard in game, actually, at least for my brain, because this game is very complex in the way that everything is set up. So you don't pull in a VR camera rig and just put it in the scene like you do in a traditional way there's a lot of things that has to work, and things are in hierarchy, and things need to go there, and then scaling, and then everything is just, yeah, it feels like that. I definitely need a coffee. But I made these. So if I now jump into the cockpit, I made these tools for VR. So these are the things that you need for VR, and you can perform it by clicking these using the laser pointer, Rendezvous, circularized PE, and circularized AP. And the only missing paper that burn that isn't supported in VR is the plane change, but you never use that in Gemini. This was something that I made just to see if it works. You will never need a plane change burn in Gemini almost. Quick question, is there joystick support? Yes, I use arrow keys today, and then I use VAST for attitude control, and then I used IKJLHN for translational control. So you're basically moving 6 axes at the same time when you're docking, and that's where everything is very complicated. But I do have a setup that I can use. So this is a translational stick that I use. This is typically connected unless I'm streaming, because I'm using the USB ports for like microphones and web camera. And then I use this for attitude control. I have another joystick too, which I can use as a backup. So yeah, I like to use joysticks, but I have no problems using the keyboard. Thank you, Dad Joke Cinema. Appreciate that. Yeah, the NASP rabbit hole will consume me. That's a very fun rabbit hole to be in. Those NASP missions are detailed. It's the closest thing that you can ever get to an Apollo mission using normal software on a PC in your home somewhere. So I recommend it if you haven't tried it. If I've flown the FG shuttle, yes, I have a lot. I even bought the deluxe manual to operate in flight. It's an amazing sim, and I think one of the devs, or at least the one who's working on it now, is even on the Discord server for re-entry. So yeah, my implementation is going to be the same fidelity for the space shuttle as you see in these other craft in re-entry. I wish to kind of onboard you to the space shuttle and its systems, and I'll try to find the right balance between this sim and a game. But the space shuttle is nevertheless a brutal machine. It's a very complex vehicle, so it's going to be a lot to learn. It's very easy to think that, okay, re-entry is medium fidelity and it's a game, so it's going to be quick to just jump in and then fly some airplanes and rockets. But when you reach Gemini and especially Apollo, then you suddenly realize that, oh, there's quite a lot of things I need to learn, and my academy can only hold your hand as far as I'm capable of teaching. So some people don't like the academy, some people do like it. There's the manuals, there's YouTube videos, so you can kind of choose the way that you learn, but you also have the links to the NASA manuals. Abort systems in Space Shuttle, that's something that I would like to add. I would like to add better abort systems in general for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo as well. And that applies to shuttle, but the initial goal is now to just get the core systems in the shuttle working, so you can get in there and fly it without aborts. And then once I feel that that's okay and that feels good, then I can start to kind of iterate on these things and add abort modes, for example. Leave a like on the video. Yes, please like and subscribe. That helps my channel and that helps my game and my motivation. And then this community is so amazing. So please join this group of space geeks and space engineers. There's even people who's actually in the space aerospace industry. One is even working in mission control. So there's a lot of us here, which makes everything here very, very fun. It will not run on Steam Deck. I do think that some people do it still on Steam Deck, but it's no official support. I need to submit the latest build to see kind of how what the reports are from Steam in terms of Steam Deck support. But let's see. My goal would be, of course, to get it to run on Steam Deck in one way or another. You can use Track IR5. I actually have one here, which I'm using a lot for reentry. One of the test pilots wrote the support for Track IR5 for this game. Yeah, oh yeah, I see that you got a question. Not a question. Sorry, my brain fell out because the chat suddenly changed a little bit. Let's scroll down to make sure that I find everything here. So yeah, you got your answer, Miguel, probably. Any hope for the Soviet programs? This is a licensing issue right now. I don't know anything about the licensing and permissions to use their IP. I think one of us who's been doing an incredible job with translations of the game has reached out to Energia and asked for the rights to Vostok. And he wrote to me today that he got a reply and says that it's mostly Roscosmos. So now we're just kind of chasing and figuring out, okay, where do we go next, and when will they answer? So some progress. Thank you very much for helping out here with that. So Alex, thank you very much for your super. This is my first super on a live stream, so yay. Yes, thank you. Everything helps. This is my coffee that I needed, and I'm going to use it tomorrow morning to buy myself a nice cup of coffee at the local cafe here. Yes. You got a coffee. Yeah, I took it before I read your comment. I feel very clever. Do you have feedback from real astronauts from the era or Newverse? I don't have too much anymore. I had some, but I've had a lot of good sources of data, reports, and I've also received some actual feedback. I have a picture of Walter Cunningham playing, and I have had discussions with the Lovell family, and I've had discussions with Fred Hayes on a Facebook chat where we discussed the sound effects and audio soundscape of the command module. So it's very brief inputs that I can use to try and replicate the immersive experience of being inside of the Apollo, but of course none from Mercury or Gemini. And Gemini is very much a big black hole. There's not as much information available, documentation, as it is for Mercury or Apollo. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for considering buying the game, Phil. And Matthias, sick game. Well, my wife also says this, that it's a little bit crazy to have made something like this, but yeah, I think it's an important piece to allow people to kind of experience a little bit what spaceflight is about and see it from a perspective on a computer. I know that there's a lot of other simulators available. This one was made because my brain wanted things to work in this way. I wanted to have fully immersive cockpits and press everything and get a feeling of the layout of the panels, where stuff are, and interact with those. So I OCD'd a little bit with the interaction thing maybe, but at least here it is with its rough edges around the corners and all things going, but it's still this title of mine, which I'm extremely proud of at the moment, especially with the input of you, the community, to add those small details and improve those small things that makes a lot of difference. And a lot of the differences that people experience, they don't know about that. It's very right now I'm not able to explain what my brain wants to explain, but what I mean is that there's a lot of details that you don't notice, but they do add to the general experience that you have. And then there's a lot of things that might pull you out of this experience, but that's fine. And now, since we are actually maneuvering towards the sunset, let's just get in attitude. Just to set a mood for the chat. And in terms of voice, is everything okay? Just make sure. Just starting Gemini, and I can see the step up. Enjoying the challenge. Thanks for all the hard work. Yes, thank you, Dave. It sure is a big step up. There's suddenly a computer, and the computer contains so much stuff that you don't see on the panels. Mercury, everything you saw on the panels was what you had to deal with. But now you have this invisible box of a computer, and the computer works with numbers, an address, a memory address, and what that memory address contains, if you will. And you interact with it like a very old computer, because that's exactly what it is. But it does the job, and it's actually quite simple, because there's not so much stuff. You usually use the catch a program, and that's the main thing, and then re-entry. But the catch a program is probably going to be the hardest one to learn, but I showed it a couple of times in this video. So once you do it one time, all it takes is to make the burn one time and do the rendezvous and docking one time. Once you do that one time, then suddenly it's just, it's not that hard. And then you can train to refine it and become better and better. Yeah, automation checklists, that's a feature that has been discussed a few times, and it's very mixed reception. The problem with that is that even if it's a realism setting that you can toggle on and off, there is probably about 90% who will just auto run everything and just sit back, and then you don't get the same experience. It's just the way that, I don't know, we're built. We're going to use that auto feature and sit back and relax, and then suddenly you won't learn anything, and you won't be able to operate it in a way. I don't know, that's my perspective, and this is I think the feedback from others too, but it's easy to implement. However, the thing that I was thinking I could do is to create a split in the checklist, so the pilot can perform some parts of the checklist and you perform your part, just like in real life, because right now you're doing all the checklists yourself. So that's also a little bit like unrealistic in a way. You're not sitting here alone, unless you're in Mercury, of course, but you do the role of a lot of persons, and there's a lot of switches to press. So maybe a split like that could make sense. So let me just scroll up here. I'm an aspiring astronaut, and I'm using re-entry to introduce myself to operational tasks, learning orbital maneuvers and things. Thank you for effort for this simulator. That's great. That's great to hear that you use it for that purpose. So thanks for sharing. I only made it to post insertion and payload bay opening in FG shuttle. Well, that's a good step. That's more than most. So just think about it like that. It's a hard vehicle, and the post insertion checklists of the space shuttle does take a while to complete. If you think that the post insertion checks in Apollo is a lot, then comes shuttle and, you know, ask you a question to hold something, and then you need to complete it. So it's hard. It's a lot of stuff, but it's fun. One thing that people do, which I can just share as a tip, is that you can save panel states. So if I now go to the console, so you can hit the console here, you can hit the question mark, and there's something called, let's see if I have it here, panel. So I could do P or panel. You can use the shortcut here, and then I can save, and then post insertion.json. You don't need to enter JSON here. I think I wrote some logic that automatically add it, but this allows me to now save the state. So if you would like, for example, in the Luna module, where the activation checklist is a lot, then you could do it once, then you save the state, and then you load it. As long as the state is exactly the same, then it doesn't matter when or how you do things. Let's try it. Let's do something like that. Panel load post insertion.json. There we go. Now the switches went back, and I'm back into that configuration. So it's kind of a panel snapshot, and you can use that as a tool to bypass some of these checklists. If I want you to play the game and do stuff with it instead of not playing the game because you can't stand doing the 45-minute long post insertion checklists. But that doesn't apply for everyone, of course. But it's a good tip. And thanks for buying Reentry. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. Is it possible to perform a track lift in conjunction with Agena? So yeah, you can do that. You can raise apogee, perigee by turning on and off the engine of the Agena. There's a checklist that contains all of the various commands of Agena. So if I go into, I've favorited it, so you can go in and favorite this, and you can edit the JSON file of your favorites to edit the colors of these bookmarks if you want, like I've done. And then you have various controls, PPS burn, that's the engine of Agena, so you can do this to prepare it, ignition, and then cut off. But there is about a second delay, so remember that cut off things early. It's kind of manual, but realistically, you can also see the state and the fuel left on these things on the panel here during daytime. So yeah. Thank you, Phil. Really appreciate your donation. That I'm gonna add cream to the coffee tomorrow. Appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Get in touch with Gene Crowns for mission control ideas. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm doing great, Don Tara. That's nice of you to ask. Thank you for your comment. How a sim should be, and you have every right to be proud of it. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's rough around the edges. You're gonna meet typos. You're gonna meet trouble and tools that could be more intuitive. But it's still the best I can do. You can't do better than your best. But when I learn stuff, I try to improve it. If anyone has been around since only 2 years ago, this game was very different. And if someone was around in 2018 when I released the early access of this game, you can see a very different looking game. So I've tried to iterate, but it's very small iterations, so you won't notice it patch from patch usually. But if you would roll back to a very old version, then suddenly you see, oh wow, this has changed a lot. So yeah, let's check. I'm not sure if just going to translate this one message here. It's an impressive endeavor to make a simulator like this. I would be very happy if I could get the necessary permissions to recreate the USSR, Soviet, and Russian programs. Yeah, exactly. It's all about licensing. There is one Soyuz simulator which is kind of hardcore, which was also quite a fun to experience a little bit with it. It's different, very different type of simulator than sitting inside of a cockpit and getting this immersive thing. But this still, it's worth checking out. I don't remember the name. All right, thank you for the radio comm text 5x5. How accurate is Gemini compared to the real one? It is accurate enough from my design point of this game. But there's a few things for 1.0, that is. But there is a few things that I really want to improve in as we progress towards 2.0. And that is that I would like to improve. Okay, I'm trying to move the OBS window. I would like to improve the electrical systems. So I have some good overview of things that I want to improve here. It's kind of simplified. This was also one of the first things that I made in Gemini. And that was in 17 or something. So it's time to kind of upgrade some of these things. The next is that I would like to do a little fuel cell overhaul, at least maybe getting some of the logic that I have for Apollo or the space shuttle. And then I would like to implement the new ECS function. This is the only craft that does not have the new ECS iteration I did for Mercury and the command module and the Luna module. So this is something that I wish to do. And I think that the last thing that I wish to do is to make some additions to how the computer works. The computer is a little bit more advanced, and I'm thinking that I'm going to add it as an option. But it means that you need to load the programs using a tape more manually. But that also means that you won't automatically change the program by selecting this one. You need to change it, and then you'll need to start the tape and start loading from specific points, and that could be set using the computer. So there's a couple of things that would be nice to have. But small steps. Let's at least Gemini has some love in this simulation. It tends to get ignored. I'm trying to give it some spotlight and make sure that people remember Gemini and know how it looked like. Yeah. So using all of my savings in Star Citizen instead of doing re-entry in Periapsis Eclipse. Yeah, that's also a good fun space game to spend money on, so I understand. It's good to get out of normal life and into a sci-fi world. So, but if you ever do get re-entry, I hope that you will enjoy it. Also, in Mercury, it could be possible to automate checklists. In all there's always more than switch flipping to an automatic process can't solve. Yeah, we'll just need to see. But let's. I made support to queue up all the checklists now. That happened after the summer, if I recall correctly. It was one of the 1.0 features that I wanted to have. Which you can queue steps in front or in the bottom, so you can have multiple checklists. And right before 1.0, I made it possible to identify what all of these steps include, what checklist they belong to. So all of them has these internal tags. So to automate it, it would be one line of code, and that would be to just say that, okay, flip the switch, thank you. So it's fully possible to do it. After KSP2, thank you for this. After KSP2, this actually looks fresh. Thank you. That means a lot. Great sim. For information, the final burn of the Rendezvous with Agena would be done by referencing the range rate needles. Yes, yeah, especially in real life, because right now I did a Hoffman burn, but you can do a trigger angle Rendezvous, which is a different orbital mechanics method of performing the burn. And that is what was actually used in Gemini and also during the Luna module ascent from the lunar surface. So the ascent stage, rendezvousing back to the command and service module, which basically means that you're at, say, in a circular orbit of 45 nautical miles of altitude, and then the command module or Agena, it's 60 nautical miles of altitude, and then at the right distance, for example, when it's 26 degrees difference, you burn straight towards it to kind of perform the rendezvous, and then you'll have a mid-course correction and braking burns to finalize. Then you can directly use that radar. But it's fully possible to use the radar in this one too, but it's very much easier to just perform the second Holman burn if you want, just because of the way that it's set up. So Dennis, thank you very much for your donation. I really appreciate it. This is my third now. The previous one, the second, and a third donation in a live stream. So making history today. Would you consider making project open source so community can contribute to the project? It's a good question. The problem with making it open source is there's so much stuff involved here, and a lot of them has licenses. So my code alone wouldn't be enough. There's plugins, there's 3D models by 3D artists, there's music licenses. So I couldn't just take the project and say, hey, open source. Parts of the code maybe as a DLL that could be open source isolated could be possible, things like that. But would it be possible to start up Gemini engine in order to improve apogee to about 750 nautical miles? Yes, you can use that burn the engine on the Agena to raise apogee. You don't have a lot of fuel in Mercury alone, because that's an ohms burn, the RCS jets basically, to race. Will there be multi-crew? I hope so. The plan is that right now I have a multi-crew mode planned for Gemini. So this craft has a mode in my lab here, which is in this same room I'm sitting in. This is where everything happens. I'll make a morning coffee session one day called Space Coffee. I'll show you around the little room. But the plan is that that is the first thing to get co-op, and that's a research thing. No promises, because it's very delicate. It's very hard to synchronize spacecraft positions when they move at 7.8 or 25,500 feet per second, and then you synchronize that between computers, and then there's a lot of small things that makes it harder than I anticipated. But as a co-pilot, for example, who can help you execute checklists, that's already supported, and it can look out the window and get a similar view than you, but perform calculating burns and executing burns at the exact time, there's this fractional differences that makes a burn a few feet per second different, the timing a few seconds different, and then that kind of accumulates and makes things hard. So it was a long answer. Multi-crew, I hope so. I'm trying. Thank you for creating this game. In a huge early spaceflight fan ever since I watched Right Stuff. Yeah, Right Stuff is a great show. Great movie. Gemini is my favorite. I like Gemini too. It's quick and the procedures aren't overwhelming. But the command module, I have a special relationship with the command module. I just love being in it. But they all have their own. I've said this in a previous stream, but the Mercury has this really nice feel to it, but you don't know that feeling maybe until you've done Gemini or maybe the command module, the Luna module. Then you return to Gemini and you suddenly feel closer to Earth. You see Earth through the scope, through the windows all the time. Earth is there in your face. While in the command module, you can spend many orbits doing insertion checks and things, and you won't have time to look out the windows. So it's always refreshing to go to Gemini and Mercury and then feel it, feel Earth. Sounds weird, but yeah, the computer tape is even more manual, and there's a lot of simplifications are done with the OBC for Gemini to make the introduction more gentle, and then the plan is then to have then a switch, an option to improve the realism. It's not hard, but there's a lot of concepts to learn. Just finished the Mercury exam. Congratulations. It's a fun and beautiful way of preserving history. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Means a lot. And congrats with completing Mercury exam. Gemini is going to take more effort. You need to maybe perform every lesson twice, at least, and then try things out until you kind of understand it. You learn something new every single time that you try. If you're struggling with the burns, the catch-up maneuvers in Gemini, do it many times, and then suddenly it will come. And then we have the Discord community who can be mission control live during your run-throughs. Gemini was such a well-built craft. It's not to have it memorized in a computer sim. The people that build this thing probably never expected we all would get to experience it in some way. Yeah, no, that time the computers were different. The vision for it might have existed, but I don't think that they foresaw everything that's going on at the moment. Thanks. Agena engine burn. Yeah, exactly. So that's the burn that you can use to raise apogee up to 750 nautical miles. I don't know what the maximum is at the moment. Mod support instead of open source. Mod support could be nice, but it might be my programming skills. It might be how I set everything up. And I've become way more experienced with Unity and building games over the last 10 years when I've been working on this. I've always been a graphics programmer since I was young, but doing this project has really, I've learned a lot from it. So I would probably make some different decisions if I would restart it, like mod support, for example. But right now, mod support is very hard. But I started working on a different setup inside of the same program, where I'm going to try and see if I can solve that. So that's a thing that it's a maybe. I would like to have it, but I don't know. Good night, BHL. Yes, it's getting late here too, so I'm gonna round it up pretty soon. Alvorden, Apollo 15, command module pilot. Yes, Apollo 15. That would be a nice mission to have. At least I'm going to get that new flight plan mode going, and have a base mission for all of the, at least the lunar missions of the Apollo program. And I would like to have a couple of the Mercury and Gemini programs as the flight plan mode. That at least lets you, in a free play scenario, experience a similar setting and following the similar trajectories, and everything is kind of similar. 5 p.m. here and I'm ready for bed. There's always time for Gemini. Yes, it's Martha Agush. Hey, nice to see you here. It's midnight. Multi-crew problem sounds similar to NTP problem of synchronizing time over variable latency pipe. Similar mechanism could possibly help to nudge both craft in a close enough state. Yeah, exactly. I'll need to dive into it. But now I'll just trying to get the basics of the networking working. And then I'm thinking that maybe a good enough implementation could be a first version, and then we can iterate and see if we can make it more clever. Voice. Have you ever considered adding realism by implementing voice recognition so that crew commands could be instructed by voice? Yeah, I've been thinking about it, and one of the test pilots, Icarus, has been working on something about this years back, which seems to be a very fun thing, but I didn't try it myself. So it's been on the radar for a while. So yeah. Hand calculators for space calculation, that would be fun. I love immersive stuff like that. As long as they had it on board actually, then that would be a lot of fun to add. Even watches and various tools on board would be really cool to have. Flight plan, I love flight plan mode. Great, thank you. It's of course incomplete. It's a partial. It's a test where I'm trying 3 different missions with 3 different, slightly different ways of presenting the flight plan using that comma audio. Yeah, good vintage handheld calculator would be nice. Yeah, those things are fun to collect. Found this game 10 minutes ago, will buy now, but waited a little bit for optimized VR support before playing. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you for supporting early. VR is going to be a priority. I think it was version 1. Actually, version 0.9 was the initial development flow, and it's going to last until version 1.3 or 4. And then I'm going to work, once I get that core basics very solid, I can start to work on hand interactions. And there is a branch, it's very old and it doesn't work very well anymore, where my first preliminary VR support was. And then I used like a similar approach as VTOL had. So you can take your hand controllers on a switch and grab it, and then you need to pull, twist selectors. I had that working on that solution in a partial way just to test. But that entire thing was just a big test and completely scrapped and removed from the project. And that made the foundation of the current VR implementation. But appreciate it. The Mercury spacecraft reminds me of the movie The Right Stuff, a great film and also a great simulator. Thank you. It does. The Right Stuff, I enjoy that. I remember when I started this project, it was when John Glenn died, the astronaut of Mercury Atlas 6. Then the cinemas set up The Right Stuff, and it was showed on the cinemas. So I went there, and was basically 2 other space geeks in the entire large cinema hall. So basically had the entire room to myself, and those 2 other folks were obvious space geeks. So we met up afterwards and went out and talked about space flight. So it was amazing. The Right Stuff, it was fun to see it on the cinema in modern days. Yeah, I think that's the last question. Looks like that. So then I am... Short challenge in Columbia mission would be awesome. Awful, mind-blowing. It's brutal. It's... the space shuttle is going to be a challenge to get into the game. It has already been a big challenge to get into the game. I started writing the first lines of the space shuttle code in 2019, September 2019. And I've been working quite a lot on the space shuttle. Every time there's code freeze, things are in testing. For example, today I rolled out version 1.06, which contained a brutal issue I had to work with Sunday was hard, but I figured it out eventually with some support of some testing as well from you folks. So thanks for everyone who was involved in testing those bits, so I could get it out as fast as I did. But yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into those things, and the space shuttle is going to be I don't know exactly what state the space shuttle will be in when I first release the technical preview of it, but let's see. Waiting for a good Mercury and Gemini simulator. Thank you. Yes, this is kind of a medium fidelity simulator of those crafts, and but it gives you a good impression, and the game tries to pull you into the craft and let you actually see and experience how it was to be part of it. Yeah, no problems. I hope that you were able to kind of see the catch-up maneuver and the Agena Rendezvous as a whole. I have a dedicated video on it, but some of these videos are a little bit older, and as I mentioned, the game evolves quite a lot over time, so old videos will look a little bit different, but the concept remains the same. Yeah, thanks everyone, and good night for everyone who's about to go to sleep. No, there's no barbecue aliens in space, but it's nice to see you here, Sabatender. So Sabatender, just for everyone's information, is a good friend of. We grew up next door. We were neighbors. I didn't expect to see you here. It's nice to see you here, Sabatender. But we used to play games together, and we also started making games when we were young. I think it was Click and Play and the Games Factory, which we used as a drag and drop tool, and you could draw sprites and all things. So we've been doing a lot of game dev ever since that time, and he's been part of this project in one way or another in brief moments here and there. So great to have you here, Subtender, and thanks for the launch. Congratulations. 1.0, it's a big step. All right. I think that unless there's any final questions, then I'll wrap up this Agena Rendezvous session. Oh yeah, it's been against your will sometimes. Good night, everyone. Oh, by the way, just a small comment. Today I woke up, I had my coffee. Tomorrow I'm gonna have really good coffee, thanks to you folk. But Scott Manley made a comment on my channel this morning. I was very happy. It was like, whoa. That wasn't the 1.0 launch window thing. But yeah, that's a good way to end the show. Thanks everyone for watching, and enjoy re-entry. And please reach out if there's anything that you want to add, have me answer. Bye everyone.